Hello. So we're going to be doing this for, we're going to be having 5 sessions of learning Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers, Tractate Avot of the Mishnah. And we're going to be doing 1 chapter at each session. And God willing, we'll be finishing Pirkei Avot on the day before the beginning of Pesach, Erev Pesach. We have something called Ta'anit Bechorot, the fast of the firstborn that happens right before Pesach to commemorate that the Israelite firstborns were spared in the final plague. And something that can be done is we have a siyum. We have a festive meal and celebration with some culmination of some learning done by an individual or the community. And in that it exempts those who need to fast at this time. So what we're going to do is hopefully be able to have a siyum together, and any firstborns will then be able to participate in a seudah of that. So we're looking forward to that. And myself and Rabbi Elton will be alternating teaching this. So I'll be beginning with chapter 1 of Pirkei Avot, and Rabbi Elton will be delivering chapter 2 on Thursday. We'll be having it the next Monday, Thursday, the next 2 weeks, and then finally on Erev Pesach that morning as well, in order to have the siyum in time for Ta'anit Bechorot. So, chapter 1 has an introductory Mishnah, even before Mishnah 1. Kol Yisrael yesh lahem chelek la'olam haba, shne'emar, v'amech kulam tzadikim la'olam yershu aretz, netzer mata'ai, ma'aseh yadai lahitpa'er. All Israel have a portion in the world to come. As it is said, and your people are all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever, the branch of my planting, the work of my hands, wherein I glory. So the rabbis wanted to have this Mishnah begin this tractate. I think there's a number of reasons why they would say that. So I think they want everyone to know that maybe there's a high standard in the ethical principles you're about to learn in this tractate of the Mishnah. There's a really high standard. The rabbis admonish a lot of behaviors, and they also explain certain very good behaviors and very high moral code. And then maybe people would be fearful then. They'd be fearful about being able to live up to that. And here we say that all of Israel have a portion of the world to come. So there's no need to fear that maybe you can't live up to the standard in these coming chapters. That their goal to aspire to, and we should listen very closely to the words of our rabbis, but that just by nature of being a part of this Jewish community, there's this piece of the world to come for everyone. Okay, chapter 1. Chapter 1, Mishnah 1. Moshe kibel Torah misinai, umsara liYoshua, v'Yoshua leZekenim, uZekenim leNeviim, uNeviim masaruha la'anshe Knesset Hagadola. So now we're tracing the path of the oral tradition from Moshe, and we're going to get to the rabbis that are teaching the later Mishnayot, but letting us know that all of this comes from Moshe. So Moshe received the Torah at Sinai and delivered that, transferred that to Yehoshua, to Joshua, and Joshua to the elders, to the Zekenim, and the Zekenim to the Neviim, to the prophets, and the Neviim to the Anshe Knesset Hagadola. Anshe Knesset Hagadola being the 200 or so years, the generation of people who begin with the latest of prophets and ending with the earliest of the sages of the Talmud. So it's kind of the bridge between those two worlds, but it's also showing, this whole Mishnah is coming to show that the transition was seamless from Moshe to what we are now receiving ourselves. Hem Amru, so now we're talking about the Knesset HaGadola. Hem Amru Shlosha Devarim. Hebu metunim badin, va'amidu l'talmidim harbe, va'asu siyag la'torah. So they said 3 things: be deliberate in judgment, and raise many disciples, and make a fence for the Torah. So this is a generation who's dealing with a lot of structural changes. This is a generation that is or multiple generations, that is the end of prophecy, the beginning of what we have today as rabbinic Judaism. Later in these generations, we're going to have the destruction of the Second Temple. There's going to be major changes, and this is what they believe. These are the things that are necessary to preserve the Jewish community. These are the things that are important for the world and Judaism to function. Be deliberate in judgment. There has to be justice in the society. Raise many disciples. That you need to have students to continue the tradition. And make a fence for the Torah. So that this is the job of this is the rabbinic project. So how do you protect the Torah with rabbinic enactments that prevent you from approaching transgressing the law, which is kind of just getting us into what will be the entirety of what is a tremendously important mission of that rabbinic project that they're taking on. Shimon HaTzadik. So now we're in Mishnah 2. We are talking about Simon the Just, who is the last of the Haya Mishyarei Knesset HaGadol, the last of the men of the Great Assembly. So now we're getting on to the next transition. Hu Haya Omer, Al Shlosha Devarim Ha'olam Omed. He used to say that the world stands on three things: Al HaTorah, V'al HaAvodah, V'al Gemilut Chasadim. This is maybe one that people have heard before, a very popular one. That the world stands on three things: on Torah, on Avodah, which could mean a couple different things. It could mean the temple service was called the Avodah service, so that prayer that comes to replace that after the destruction of the temple. It could mean prayer. It could mean just action in general, mitzvot, or Avodah in the sense of the modern Hebrew word, the word of just labor, of work. That Avodah is that being a part of this world and working. V'al gemilut chasadim, and deeds of loving kindness. So I think that has to do with learning Torah, engaging with the Word of God, labor of some sort, whether that be labor of the heart, prayer, or that be a physical labor, or labor of doing all of the mitzvot, that you're engaged in the world in a physical way, not just in a spiritual way, and on gemilut chasadim, acts of loving kindness, being kind to one another. That is also one of the principal things that God wants from us. Okay, Mishnah 3. Antigonus ish socho. So now we're learning from a new person. Kibel mi Shimon HaTzadik. So this is he learned from Shimon HaTzadik. Hu haya omer. And he would say, Al tihiu cha'avadim hemeshamshim et harav al manat lekabel pras. Don't be like servants working for the master for the sake of receiving some kind of reward. Ella hevu cha'avadim hemeshamshin et harav shelo al manat lekabel pras v'hi mara shamayim alechem. So rather, the way that we should relate to God, it shouldn't be that we are hoping for the reward that comes from doing the mitzvot or doing God's will. It should be for two reasons about the nature of that relationship, rather. It should be because of love for God, and then also because of fear, of knowing about awe, fear, reverence for God and understanding His power. That those should be the reasons that we do the mitzvot. It shouldn't be that, what am I going to get out of it? It should be that first and foremost, I have love for God, and also that I have reverence, awe, possibly fear for God. Those should be the things that motivate us. Mishnah 4. Okay, so after Antigonus of Socho, who we just read about, who received it from Shimon HaTzadik, who was the last of the Great Assembly, now from Antigonus of Socho, after him begins the era of the Zugot. So you have pairs of two men who are leading the Jewish community, one as Nasi, president, and one as Av Beit Din, the head of the court. And we're going to see a couple of these pairs. So now a lot of the Mishnayot that we're going to learn are going to include two pairs. And this is as I said, the era of the Zugot. So Mishnah 4. Yosef ben Yoezer, Ish Tzreida v'Yosef ben Yochanan, Ish Yerushalayim kiblu mihem. So these are the first of the Zugot, the first Nasi and the first Av Beit Din. Yosef ben Yoezer Omer, Ihi veitcha beit va'ad lachachamim, v'hevu mitabek ba'afar raglehem, v'hevu shotei vatzama et divrehem. So the first of these men, Yosef ben Yoezer, said, let your house be a meeting place for the sages, and sit at the dust of their feet, and drink in their words with thirst. So that you should always have reverence for knowledge, have love for knowledge, want to surround yourself with knowledgeable people, have the humility to learn from those people that know more than you, and want to be close to them, want to learn from them, and to drink their words with thirst, so to take in the words that they're saying. That maybe doesn't mean just listening, it doesn't mean just comprehending, but taking in those words and putting them towards action, to actually learning from them, and that having an effect on you as an individual. Okay, now we're going to learn about the second of these two men. So we only heard the words of one of them. Now we're going to hear the words of the other one. Yosef ben Yochanan ish Yerushalayim omer, ichi veitcha patuach lirvacha, v'heve aniyim bein v'neitecha, v'al tarbe sicha im ha'isha. Yosef ben Yochanan of Yerushalayim said, let your house be wide open, and let the needy be members of your household, and do not engage in too much idle talk with a woman. So this is something that I'm going to explain at the end of this Mishnah, because that doesn't necessarily sound so great to our modern ears, but I'll explain what that really means here. Okay. Bishto amru kal v'chomer be'eshet chavero. So certainly for his own wife, and all the more so of with the wife of his fellow. Mikan amru chachamim, kol zman she'adam marbe sicha im ha'isha, gorem ra'a la'atzmo votel midivrei Torah v'sofo yoresh gehenam. So they said, hence the sages said, whoever engages in too much idle talk with a woman brings evil upon himself and neglects the study of Torah, and ultimately will inherit Gehenna. So I think what this means, it has to do with the kind of talk that you might be having. So they're specifically using this word sicha, kind of this idle chatter, I think would be a good way to translate that. So maybe you think, because with your spouse, you have this very close, intimate relationship, so you think it's okay to talk about maybe gossip or things that are not of real substance. Of course, you should engage with your spouse and other people and have talks of things that are meaningful, things that are important. But maybe when you have this intimate relationship that is just the two of you, behind closed doors, you'll say, whatever, we can talk about other people. We can talk about really frivolous things. I don't need to do something for the betterment of myself or my spouse. We could just talk about idle things, unimportant things. And I think that's what they're trying to tell us to distance ourselves from. So the first of these two men said words about you should be open to learning, that you need to surround yourself with people who can teach you, who humble yourself in order to learn from others. And then the other one is to not spend too much time having frivolous kind of talk, even in those relationships that are most intimate, that might lend themselves to that because you feel comfortable doing that. Even then, you should distance yourself from that. Okay, Mishnah 6. Yoshua ben Parchaya v'nitai ha'arbeli kiblu mihem. So now the next pair of zugot, they received it from them. Yoshua ben Parachya omer, aseh lecha rav uknei lecha chaver, v'heve dan et kol adam l'chaf zchut. Yoshua ben Parachya v'nitai ha'arbelite received the Torah from them. Yoshua ben Parachya said, provide yourself with a teacher, acquire a companion, and judge every person in the scale of merit. So what are the things you need to be a learned person, to be a worldly person, a person who is doing well, acting well in this world? So the first thing is you need someone to learn from, someone who knows more than you. You should have a teacher. Second thing is that you should have a study partner. You should have we have a tradition in Judaism of charuta, that you shouldn't learn alone exclusively. You need to learn with another person. You need to have that push and pull, that learning from one another, having that other, different people think differently, and what you can acquire from that is really important. So you need to be learning with other people and judge every person on the scale of merit. So we need to assume the best of people, which is that's his last piece of advice. That we should always assume the best of someone if we don't know better. The Zug, his partner in leading the Jewish community, Nitai Ha'arbeli, is actually going to say something that's going to narrow the scope of that. So it's kind of interesting here how the push and pull they have with one another. Him commenting on the previous words of his fellow. So Nitai Ha'arbeli Omer, Harchek mi shachen ra, v'al titchaber larasha, v'al tityaesh min hapuraniut. Nitai Arbelite said, keep away from a bad neighbor, and do not associate with a wicked man, and do not lose your faith in retribution. So even though the previous Mishnah, we said that you should judge everyone favorably, Nitai Arbeli is limiting the scope of that, and he's saying, if someone is, you don't know anything about them, or you know that they're a good person, you see something, then you should always give the benefit of the doubt. So neutral and good people, always give the benefit of the doubt, assume the best of them. If you see something that looks off, assume it's just something that you don't know details of exactly what's going on. But if someone has a bad reputation for doing harmful things, for doing evil things, for hurting other people, for being a bad neighbor, a wicked man, as he says, then you can have some distance from them and not have to want to be close to them, or to not have to always give the benefit of the doubt if someone has a history of doing really harmful things. And last thing it says, do not lose your faith in retribution. So you might see someone who does bad things all the time, but things go pretty well from them. And you might say that maybe God isn't doing the right thing with reward and punishment, that this person is a bad person who has good coming to them. But no, that there will be some form of punishment either in this world eventually or in the world to come. And you shouldn't think that the world doesn't work that way, that this person is fine with what they're doing, or maybe that it affirms that our actions are actually okay. It doesn't mean that. You shouldn't learn that from this. Okay, Mishnah 8. Yehuda ben Tabai v'Shimon ben Shatach kiblu mihem. So this is the next pair of zugot, and they received it from the previous pair. Yehuda ben Tabai omer, al tas atzmach ke'orchei hadayanim. Do not conduct yourself like the counselors, like someone preparing their client, or preparing for a court case, which we'll say what that means in a second. And while the litigants stand before you, look upon them. Look upon them as if they are guilty. And when they leave, when they depart from before you, and then you look at both of them like they're innocent in your eyes. Once they've received upon themselves, once they've taken upon themselves, accepted the judgment. Okay, so the idea of not preparing them, of not conducting yourself like orchei hadayanim, means to not prepare them before if you're the judge, you can't say, do this and it'll go well for you. Like, take this kind of approach in the defense you're going to make, because I think you're innocent anyway, so I want to give you an advantage in presenting your case as well as you possibly can. So don't do that. And while they're standing still before you, the litigants, so both parties, look upon them as if they're guilty. So you should equally be critical and trying to find the truth. And like looking at them, not necessarily like they're like they both did something wrong. They're bad, but try to be really critical and investigate their arguments, and don't pick one side, but look at both very critically. And when they depart before you, look at them as if they're innocent in your eyes. So then say, okay, if they've accepted the judgment, someone is being punished or has to pay a fine. And they've accepted this, they're going to take that upon themselves, they're going to do that, they're going to follow through. But now I say, maybe something happened I didn't really understand. Maybe they did the crime in error, and you can look at them favorably now. Once they've accepted the rule, and they're willing to pay the price and accept the consequences, then you could say, try to have the best kind of approach, how you're going to look at them and what you're going to think about what they did. Okay. Mishnah 9. Shimon ben Shatach Omer, so the other pair of this pair of zugot, this zug here, we're going to see the other one of them speak. Heve marbe lachakor et edim, veheva zahir bidvarecha, shema mitocham yilmadu l'shaker. Be diligent in examining the witnesses, and be careful with your words, lest from them they learn to falsify. So you need to have a close interrogation. You need to really probe the witnesses and try to get down to the truth. And don't be careless in your questions. And be careful about some kind of perversion of the facts in the courtroom. So they're both these men are concerned with having just courts. And sounds like a kind of a reformation of sorts, that maybe that during their time there were deficiencies in the legal system, and they wanted to. It was a big goal of their leadership at this time, them being the leading two scholars and leaders of the Jewish community, to make those reforms of the legal systems, to establish just legal courts. Okay, the next pair of zugot, Shmaya and Avtalion. Shmaya and Avtalion kiblu mehem, they received it from the previous two. Shmaya omer, ehav et hamalacha, usnei et harabanut, v'al titvada l'rashut. So Shammai would say that you should love labor, you should hate mastery, like maybe you should, that means like the power that and the pride that can come with that, you should be fearful or have a problem with. V'al titvadal rashut, and do not seek familiarity with the ruling authorities. Maybe at that point you'll get in good with them, and then you'll think certain rules don't apply to you, or you'll trust people in positions of power too much, and that will maybe lead to abuses of their power. So kind of have a love for work, and kind of have a fear and distancing from sources of power and the corruption that can come with that. And I think there's a really wonderful story from the Talmud about Shammai and Avtalion that shows both their love of humanity and their sense of power and what is important might not be what it seems on the surface. So it's a really great story. So it's from Masechet Yuma, the chapter of the book of the Talmud that has to do with Yom Kippur. And it's a story. It's a story about Shammai and Avtalion. So the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, has just come out from the Yom Kippur service, the most important day of the year in the Jewish calendar, the most important job of his year and his career and his life. The high priest doing the Yom Kippur service that's the biggest thing for him. So he just comes out of that, and the people are following him. The people are accompanying him. And then they see Shammai and Avtalion. So they see the two greatest scholars of their time, these two wonderful people, and they start following them instead of the high priest. And the high priest, he gets a little jealous. So he makes a remark that is very insulting to Shammai and Avtalion. So it turns out that Shammai and Avtalion, the two greatest scholars and leaders of this time, are actually either the children of converts or they themselves are converts. And the high priest says to them, he just had his feelings hurt, and he is being very petty, and he says to them, may the sons of the children of Gentiles arrive in peace. So it's kind of a backhanded compliment that they should arrive in peace, but really insulting their lineage because he's jealous. And then what do they say to him? Shammai and Avtalion reply to the high priest, may the sons of Gentiles who act like Aharon, who act like Aaron, Moses' brother, he was a Rodef Shalom in pursuing peace. They should arrive in peace, but the son of Aaron, who does not act like Aaron, shall not arrive in peace. So they come from converts, don't have this long biological lineage like the high priest does to this holy person, to Aaron, but they are treating people with respect. They are being Rodef Shalom, of being pursuers of peace, and he's not acting that way. So they give this little quip to kind of remind him and tell him off for being so rude and trying to insult them. But they do it in a very beautiful way, that they say that it doesn't really matter about where you come from. What matters is how you act in this world, that you treat people with respect, that you love peace, that you love kindness, and you love people. Okay, now we'll hear one from Avtalion. We just heard one from Shemaiah, his advice. Now we'll hear from Avtalion, the second of the pair. Avtalion Omer, Chachamim, Hizaharu v'divreihem, Shema tachuvu chovat galut, v'tiglu l'makom ma'im hara'im, v'yishtu atalmidim habayim acharehem, v'yamutu, v'nimsa shem shamayim mitchalel. Avtalion said, sages, be careful with your words, lest you incur the penalty of exile, and you be exiled to a place of evil waters, and the disciples who come after you drink of them and die, and the name of heaven be profaned. So really, this is a warning to the people who are in positions of leadership, of spiritual and legal leadership for the Jewish people, have to take their job incredibly seriously, because it will affect the generations that come after them, the words that they say, the things that they rule, if they rule permissible when it's really forbidden, or forbidden when it's really permissible. They are affecting the future generations, they're affecting their students, they're affecting the people that their students will teach. So be really, really careful with your words if you're in a position of power and leadership, because there are so many repercussions. The more people you're responsible for, the more things you're responsible for, the more good you can do and the more harm you can cause. So to be incredibly careful of that. Mishnah 12. So now we're getting to the last pair of zugot, and names that many of you will have heard of many times, maybe not in this context. So we're talking about Hillel and Shammai. And normally when we talk about Hillel and Shammai, we often say Beit Hillel, Beit Shammai. So they're actually not them themselves as individuals, but the schools of thought and their students after them. But now we're talking about the two themselves. Hillel and Shammai kiblu mihem. They received it from Shammai and Avtalion, and actually says that Hillel really wanted to learn from Shammai and Avtalion, and he moved from Babylon to Eretz Yisrael, to the land of Israel, in order to learn at their feet, to learn from the two of them, because they were so renowned as scholars and as people. Hillel Omer, Heva mitalmidav shel Aharon, Ohev shalom v'rodef shalom, Ohev et habriut, umekorban la Torah. Hillel and Shammai received the Torah from them, from Shammai and Avtalion, and Hillel said, be a disciple of Aaron. So again, we're hearing about Aaron loving peace and pursuing peace, loving your fellow creatures and attracting them to Torah. Hillel was known for his character, for his love of people, for his openness. And he also says it himself. He says these words, that's the way you should behave. You should behave like Aaron. You should love peace. You should love people. And you should want to bring people closer to God and to Torah. Okay, and now another one from Hillel. Hu haya omer, Mishnah 13, Nagad Shema, Avad Shemei, Udala Mosif Yasif, V'dala Yalif Ketala Chayav, V'deish Tamash B'taga Chalaf. He used to say, he who seeks fame will lose his name, and he who does not add detracts, and he who does not study deserves death, and he who makes worldly use of the crown shall perish. So he's making a comment here about what should be your intention. You should want to learn for the sake of learning. You should want to engage with Torah and make that a part of your life. And he who makes, this last part, he who makes worldly use of the crown shall perish, means if you try to get fame and honor from Torah, that's at your own detriment. The Torah should be for its own value. It should be for helping other people. It should be for making the world a better place. It should be something that you want to engage with and to teach, and should not be for your own kind of your status or the way that you're perceived in the world. Should not be the primary intention of why you, or any significant intention of why you engage with Torah and teach Torah and live that life of Torah. Another one from Hillel, Mishnah 14. Hu haya omer, im ein ani li, mi li. Ukshe ani la'atzmi, ma'ani, v'im lo achshav ematai. A very, very, very famous one from Hillel. He used to say, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? And if I am for myself only, who am I? And if not now, when? So I have a responsibility to work on myself, to pursue spiritual, personal growth. That's my responsibility. But if I'm only consumed by that, and I'm not thinking about an outward approach of how that's going to affect other people, how am I becoming a better person for the sake of other people, for being an instrument of doing good in the world, that the self-work is not an end in and of itself. It's a means to an end for your being for the world, for being for other people. And if not now, when? So we can't, in general, it's kind of a remark against procrastinating. When there's a good thing to do and there's something important to do, we should do it. We should dive right in and know that we can't count on how many days we're going to have. That if something is of value, it's something we should be doing right now. Now we're going to hear one from Shammai. Shammai Omer, Aseh Toratcha keva, emor me'at va'aseh harbe, v'hevi mekabel et kol ha'adam b'sever panim yafot. Shammai said, make your study of Torah a fixed habit, say little and do much, and receive every person with a cheerful countenance. This is an interesting one. I think often Shammai maybe has like a bad reputation, that Hillel is like the more lenient one and Shammai is more strict, and Hillel is this very, very loving person, has a great love for people, and maybe Shammai gets frustrated with people or is more critical. But I think this shows that that's actually, he was just very serious about his reverence for Torah, Shammai, and was therefore, his strictness doesn't come from a lack of compassion or human kindness, but because of his reverence for Torah. And actually, I love the end of this Mishnah, that he is one to say that you should always greet people with a cheerful countenance. That amongst the people he encountered, he was this really kind person, but has this reputation for being of the two, between Hillel and Shammai, being the colder, stricter one, maybe because of how seriously he took things, how seriously he took Torah and his role and what he wanted to do in the world. Mishnah 16. Now we're going to hear from the grandson of Hillel, Rabban Gamliel. Rabban Gamliel Omer, Aseh lecha Rav, v'histalek min hasafek, v'al tarbe la'aser omadot. Rabban Gamliel said, provide yourself a teacher and remove yourself from doubt, and do not make a habit of giving tithes by guesswork. So this is important. So you should have a teacher, an idea that's being reiterated, something that we've already talked about, that you need someone to help you work through the intricacies of halacha, of Jewish law, and of Torah. So you should have someone. You need guidance, and remove yourself from doubt. So don't just render a decision of only your own judgment. You need to interact with other people. You need to consult in order to make sure that you're doing the right thing. And again, you don't want to, if you permit what's forbidden or forbid what's permitted, you're doing harm to Jewish people. So to take that seriously, to always have as little doubt as is possible by consulting with others, and trying to get to the bottom of the appropriate answer as best you possibly can. And do not make a habit of giving tithes by guesswork. So specifically a maaser, which is the tithe of 1/10. If you give less than 1/10, then the tithe itself, the Levite will be eating of the tithe, which is good, but the bulk will remain unfit for eating because it hasn't been properly tithed. So you've messed up the remainder of everything by not having done the proper tithe, because there's parts of that should have been tithed. So you're gonna have an issue with eating that. And then if you overestimate, then you're giving to the Levite, you're giving him a mix of what is appropriately tithed and what isn't hekdesh, what hasn't been set aside as for a holy purpose, and that's not appropriate for him. So you're affecting what he's eating. So either way, you're causing a problem. So it's something that you need to take seriously. Mishnah 17, Shimon beno. Okay, so now we're talking about Shimon beno is the son of Gamliel, Rabban Gamliel. Shimon, his son said, Kol yamai gadalti ben hachachamim v'lo matzati laguf tov el shtika. So all my life I grew up among the sages, and I found nothing better for a person than silence. V'lo midrash hu aikar el hamaseh v'chol marbe devarim mevichet. So he says, and the expounding of the law, the understanding of the law, the going into it in detail is not the most important thing, but rather it's the practice of it. And whoever speaks excessively causes sin. So he's saying that you need to be no one to be silent, you should be listening. He grew up his whole life. His father was this great sage, so all of the people that he associated with his entire childhood, his whole life, he was surrounded by sages. So he knows his very keen understanding of wisdom that's greater than his. He was always surrounded by it. And he knows the value of silence, and he knows the value of deeds, that it's not just about, he probably saw that these rabbis who would spend so much time and were so engaged in expounding the law, getting to the depth of the law, were also practiced what they preached, that they also lived good lives, behaved well, did with the law, didn't just sit and think about it all the time, but actually went out there and did it. And that was something that he admired and thought needed to be taught to others and passed on. Okay? And then the last one for today, Mishnah 18 of Pirkei Avot, chapter 1. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Omer. So now we're skipping a little ahead in terms of the generation. So Shimon of this Mishnah is the grandson of Rabbi Shimon, mentioned in the previous Mishnah. So he's a son of Rabban Gamliel II. So they keep naming their children after their father, so that gets a little confusing, the names. But this Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel is the father of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, who is going to be the person who redacts, edits, and finally compiles the Mishnah as this fully written text after this long oral tradition from Moshe through all those generations that we discussed in the first Mishnah, going through all these zugot, and finally being committed to writing and being put into a proper order, was the job of this rabbi's son who did that, and that was also related to the destruction of the temple, that needing to happen, needing to have it committed to writing because of the Jewish people in exile and not having a central place of worship. So that was an important task that his son took on. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Al shlosha dvarim ha'olam omed. On three things the world stands. Al hadin va'al ha'emet va'al ha'shalom. Shneimar emet u'mishpat shalom shiftu b'sha'arechem. On three things the world stands, on judgment and on truth and on peace. As it is said, execute the judgment of truth and peace in your gates. So I think that's a good place, why this chapter ends here. That these are the things that keep the world afloat. These are the things that are incredibly important to Jewish life and to all people, to all societies, to have justice, to have proper judgment, to have truth, and to have peace. Things that we should all be working towards, making sure our society has all of those, and continue to our society should perpetuate resting on those principles. So thank you. That was chapter 1 of Pirkei Avot, and I said earlier in the video, but I'll say again, that we're, God willing, going to be learning all of the chapters of Pirkei Avot leading up to Ta'anit B'chorot, the fast of the firstborn, taking place right before Pesach, so that we can have a siyum, and that firstborn will be able to gather together, or not gather together, but on their own, have a siyum to have a suda. And the next chapter, chapter 2, will be taught by Rabbi Elton, and that will be Thursday, same time. So we'll do the next, we did Monday today, and then this Thursday, and then next week, Monday, Thursday, we'll be able to do the chapters 3 and 4. The following week, Monday, will be chapter 5, and then that Wednesday is when we would do the siyum. We'll finish, and we'll have for Ta'anit B'chorot, and hope everyone is having a great day and being safe and healthy, and until next time, thank you. Bye.